Thursday morning, office at the ministry. The official places a folder on the table and says, "The Muggle family refused. Black is in Azkaban. Lupin is unfit for medical reasons." There's only one contender for the custody of the 1-year-old child, and that contender was Lord Malfoy. Thus, Harry Potter grew up in the Malfoy estate, and this is the story of what came of it. Write in the comments what alternative story you would like to see in the next video. Put the video on in the background or make yourself comfortable. We are starting. Walter Pippin, the Assistant Director for Child Welfare, entered the office on the 4th floor of the ministry with a folder under his arm and sat down on the only free chair. Albus Dumbledore was already there. He stood by the window with his back to the door, gazing at the rooftops outside, and Pippin felt that the old man had been waiting for him not 5 minutes, but a year. They refused. The Muggle family. I visited them last night. The woman paled when I mentioned the boy's last name. The husband said, through the door without opening it, that no one with that last name would be in this house, that they did not sign and would not sign anything, that I could contact their lawyer if they happened to have one. Dumbledore was silent, and that Sirius Black is still in Azkaban on paper, without the right to transfer custody, even temporarily. I checked twice.
Who remains?
Technically, no one. By blood, no one. By will, Black, and he is unavailable. By the friendship of the parents, Lupin, and he, as you know, is disqualified for medical reasons. But this morning I received a request. Lord Malfoy. Dumbledore finally turned around.
What are his grounds?
Distant kinship, through a grandmother on the Black side. Legally, weaker than any direct relative, stronger than any stranger. The papers are in order. The signatures of the healer and the attorney, the signature of a witness from the Wizengamot. If I submit a refusal, he will file an appeal, and the Wizengamot will consider it in a month. And, by my estimates, he will win.
How did he find out?
I do not know that.
You know.
Pippin fell silent. Rumors, Director. Rumors that the boy has nowhere to go have been circulating since morning. Malfoy never acts first unless he is sure he will be first. Dumbledore approached the table, sat down opposite. He placed his hands on the wood, intertwined his fingers. He stared at his hands for a long time. So this is it, he thought. This is how it begins, with the folder that a weary official places on the table on a Thursday morning.
Sign it.
Pippin raised his eyebrows. Are you serious?
Sign it. Temporary custody. With the right to review in a year, in 2, in 5. With a commitment to quarterly reporting. With a ban on port keys without my consent. Fit everything into the document that Malfoy will agree to sign. He will agree. Trust me. He will agree to everything right now.
And the boy?
The boy will survive. Boys survive worse.
Pippin closed the folder, stood up. This is a bad decision, Director.
This is the only decision. Of the bad ones.
When Pippin left, Dumbledore remained seated. He thought, Lily will never forgive me for this, he thought. And I will not forgive myself either. And he immediately admonished himself. Guilt is a luxury for those who have a choice. He had no choice. He only had options of varying degrees of badness, and Malfoy was, strangely enough, not the worst of them. With the Malfoys, the boy will be alive. With the Malfoys, the boy will be safe from those who remember his mother's face. With the Malfoys, the boy will be under a roof that has a name, a reputation, lawyers. And when he grows up, we will see. That was all that mattered, that he would grow up. Lucius sent a car, or rather, not a car, but a port key in the form of a silver keychain. The social worker brought the child to the fireplace in the London office, handed him the keychain, and told him to hold it tightly with both hands. Harry held it. A second later, the floor disappeared from under his feet, and he found himself in the middle of a gravel path, and in front of him was a house he had never seen in his life, and it made him slightly nauseous, whether from the flight or from fear. The house was large, not as large as it seemed from a distance, but still bigger than any house Harry had ever been in. Grey stone, black shutters, 2 columns at the entrance. On the columns, carved snakes spiraling upward. One of the snakes had a chipped eye. For some reason, Harry noticed that. The door opened by itself. Harry took a step, then another. The keychain fell from his hand and clinked against the stone of the porch. In the hallway stood a woman, tall, in a green dress, hair gathered at the back of her head. She was not smiling. She was not frowning. She looked at him as one looks at new furniture, appraisingly and without interest. "Harry, I am Narcissa Malfoy. This is your home now. This way. The elf will show you your room." The elf appeared at her elbow, short in a pillowcase, not looking at his face. Harry followed him.
"And where—"
"Lord Malfoy is busy. Draco is in the garden. Dinner is at 7. You dress for the table. You have everything you need in your wardrobe." He was given a room on the 3rd floor in the far wing. The window faced not the garden, but the courtyard, where trash bins stood and elf laundry was drying. The bed was made with grey, unpatterned bedding. On the chair lay 3 shirts, 2 pairs of trousers, shoes. Everything was a bit too big. Everything, as Harry later understood, was passed down to him from Draco of the previous season. At 7, he went downstairs. 4 people were sitting at the table: Narcissa, Lucius, Draco, and an empty chair. Harry waited. Who knows? Maybe someone else would come. No one came. The empty chair remained empty all evening. Harry sat in the wrong place, in Draco's seat, and was silently nudged by the elf at the elbow to his own, in the farthest corner next to the sideboard.
You will study together with Draco. Until Hogwarts. The same subjects, the same teachers. Please do not distract him with questions during lessons. If something is unclear, ask afterwards. If it's still unclear afterwards, ask me. If it doesn't make sense, after me. That's your problem.
Okay.
All right, sir.
All right, sir.
Lucius nodded as if he had checked something off and did not say another word to him for the rest of dinner. Draco looked at him across the table with curiosity that would burn out and turn into indifference within a week. Right now, on the first evening, he still wanted to understand who this was, what this was, why this was. He asked what toys Harry had. Harry said he had no toys. He asked what broom he flew on. Harry said he didn't fly. He asked who his parents were.
My parents are dead.
Oh, I know. Just wanted to check.
And he returned to his soup. Harry did not cry that night. Not because he was strong or used to it, but because he did not understand what to cry about. The Dursleys were far away, and it definitely wasn't worth crying over them. These new ones were close, and there was nothing to cry about yet. They hadn't done anything good or bad to him. He lay in the large, cold bed, stared at the ceiling, and thought about the snake without an eye on the column. He thought, interesting, who chipped it off? He thought, if both eyes had been in place, would it have been better or worse? And he fell asleep, unresolved. In 3 years, Harry Potter learned to take up exactly as much space as was expected of him, and not a centimetre more. It turned out to be an art. At breakfast, he sat down last and got up first. In the corridor, he even gave way to the house elves. In the library, he chose a chair in the corner, one where the back covered him from behind and the left. If an adult entered, he did not stand up. The Malfoys did not consider it necessary, but he stopped turning the pages so the rustling wouldn't irritate. He was fed differently than Draco. Not worse in terms of quality, the food was the same for everyone, but his portions were smaller and pastries were left for him less often, and he received the fruits that Draco did not finish or rejected. Harry noticed this in the 2nd month and paid no more attention to it. His stomach was, like everything else in him, disciplined. His clothes were collected from second-hand sources. Once every 6 months, Narcissa would conduct an inventory of Draco's wardrobe, folding what had become too small or gone out of fashion into a pile and sending the elf to take it to Harry's room. The elf would say, "The mistress asked you to try it on." Harry would try it on. If something hung off him completely, the elf would take it away to adjust. If it fit, it stayed. Thus, Harry wore last year's shirts and trousers of Draco, last year's shoes of Draco, and gradually even began to walk a little like Draco, slightly with his shoulders turned, as if someone was always watching from behind. He and Draco coexisted peacefully, without friendship. Draco was not stupid, and quickly realized that the new family member was neither a rival nor an audience, and certainly not a toy. An audience should admire. Harry did not admire. A rival should interfere. Harry did not interfere. A toy should react. Harry reacted just enough so that Draco wouldn't be offended, and just enough so that Draco wouldn't get too carried away. In the end, Draco simply got used to Harry being there, like one gets used to a mirror in the hallway. It stands and stands, reflects and reflects, doesn't intrude. Things were worse with Lucius. Lucius did not like Harry, and Harry knew it. But Lucius was a person who treated unloved subjects as cleanly and neatly as he did loved ones. Once a week he would come to the study room, check Harry on magic theory, history and Latin. If Harry answered well, Lucius would nod. If poorly, Lucius would silently mark a check in a small notebook and leave. What he did with those checks Harry did not know. Whether they were punished for them or not, he did not know. He was never punished, but Harry never figured out why. Whether it was because the Malfoys did not hit children, or because Lucius was waiting for a certain number of checks to start. Narcissa was polite. That was her main characteristic. Polite to everyone. To the elves, to guests, to her husband, to her son, to Harry. Her politeness was of the same degree for everyone, and therefore conveyed nothing. Harry sometimes tried to understand how she felt about him by her intonation. It didn't work. The intonation was always the same. Once, in his second year, Harry caught a cold and lay with a fever for 3 days. Narcissa came into the room twice a day. She placed her palm on his forehead, called the elf, gave instructions regarding the potion. On the 3rd day, when the fever subsided, she sat on the edge of the bed and asked, "Do you need anything?" Harry said, "No." She nodded, got up, adjusted the blanket, and already at the door, without turning around, she said, "If you ever need something, say it directly. I don't guess." And she left. Harry lay there for a long time afterwards, thinking that this was the longest conversational phrase he had heard in this house in 2 years, and the only one in which someone offered him something without stipulating conditions. He did not take up the offer, but he remembered it. The main discovery of those years was the library. It was in the eastern wing, occupied 2 floors, and Lucius hardly ever went there because he preferred to work in his office. Draco only entered the library if he was forced to. The elves dusted the shelves at night. It turned out that during the day, especially after lunch, there was no one there. Harry gradually mastered the library. In the first weeks, he took what was lying on the tables, textbooks and magazines, social chronicles. Then he moved to the lower shelves, which he could reach without a ladder. Next, he used the ladder to access the middle shelves. By the end of the first year, he had reached the upper shelves. By the middle of the second year, he realized that some of the cabinets were locked, glass doors with a thin wire mesh inside. These cabinets stood at the far end of the hall, by a window with a green stained glass. At first, Harry simply looked at the spines through the glass. Then he began to read the titles. Then he started sneaking into the hall at night. The keys were in Lucius's office. Harry didn't touch them. However, he discovered that one of the cabinets didn't close properly. The door sagged if pulled, not enough to open, but enough to create a gap between the door and the frame. Thin fingers could slip through this gap, and thin fingers could pull out a book if it was at the very edge. That's how Harry read his first dark magic book. It was called On the Nature of Pacts and Agreements Between Unequal Parties. It was not a spell book, but a treatise, old, tedious, written by a person who apparently thought his prose was beautiful. Harry didn't understand half of it, but he remembered one phrase from the introduction. The side that has nothing to lose is always stronger than the side that has something to preserve, provided that the former is aware of it and the latter is not. Harry was 10 years old. He read that phrase 3 times. Then he carefully placed the book back in the gap, aligned the spine, and tugged at the door. The door settled back into place. Then he sat on the floor between the cabinets and stayed there for a long time. No one was looking for him. No one had ever looked for him in the library. The letter from Hogwarts arrived on the same day as Draco's. An owl dropped both envelopes at breakfast, one heavy, one heavy. Draco squealed, spilled his tea, grabbed his envelope, and immediately opened it. Harry took his, looked at the seal, and set it aside next to his plate.
Aren't you going to open it?
After breakfast.
Lucius looked at him over the Daily Prophet, with a gaze that was neither angry nor approving, but weighing, like one looks at a weight being placed on a scale, unsure if it is accurate.
We'll go to Diagon Alley together. You and Draco will go shopping. I'll take this one. To Ollivander's and to the bank.
This one referred to Harry. He understood without raising his head. In Diagon Alley, Lucius walked ahead. Harry followed behind, a step behind, as was proper. At Ollivander's, the old man in a dusty robe took out 8 wands before finding the right one. When Harry took the 9th wand, holly, phoenix feather, 11 inches, the dust on the shelves stirred slightly, and Ollivander froze for a second. Then he shifted his gaze from Harry to Lucius, then back to Harry.
Interesting.
Lucius didn't ask what was interesting. He paid, took the box, and left. Outside at the shop's door, he stopped and said, Harry heard for the first time in his voice not an order or a moral lesson, but a question.
Ollivander said, "Interesting. Do you know why?"
No, sir.
Well, then don't be curious. Curious boys end badly.
And he walked on. At the bank, Harry saw his vault for the first time. A goblin led him to the door, unlocked it, and stepped back. Inside, mountains of gold and silver and bronze. Harry froze at the threshold. He knew he had money. Lucius had once mentioned it in the study, casually dropping that the expenses for the boy's upkeep are partially reimbursed from his own account. At that time, Harry hadn't understood what expenses exactly and was too shy to ask. Now it became clearer. He took exactly as much as was said, for textbooks and a robe, for a cauldron and ink. Exactly. Not a single coin more. Not out of honesty, out of habit. On the Hogwarts Express, Draco immediately went off to find his Crabbe and Goyle and someone else. Harry sat in an empty compartment by the window. 10 minutes later, the door opened slightly, and a red-haired boy in a sweater that didn't fit peeked in.
Is this seat free? Everywhere else is taken.
Free.
The redhead sat down. He looked at Harry's forehead, for a second, no more, then looked away. Good, Harry thought. At least this one knows how to do that.
I'm Ron Weasley.
Harry.
I know. Sorry for saying it right away. It's just... Yeah, I know.
20 minutes later, there was another knock on the compartment door. A girl with thick hair, very straight and very loud, walked in.
Has anyone seen a toad? A boy lost his toad. My name is Hermione. Have you changed yet? We'll be arriving soon. I've read everything for the first year. Well, almost everything. How about you?
Part of it.
Which part?
A large part.
Hermione sat down across from him. She looked at him closely, not at his forehead, but at his face entirely.
And whose books do you have used?
New.
And the robe?
New.
And you yourself?
Harry smiled. For the first time that day, maybe for the first time that week.
I'll do my best.
Sorting. Harry stood in line, counting the necks in front of him. Draco had already sat down, Slytherin, of course, a second after the hat touched his head. Ron sat down, Gryffindor with a creak. Hermione, Gryffindor instantly. The hat was lowered onto Harry's head. It became quiet and ticklish inside. Malfoy, said the hat. Who would have thought? Not by blood, of course, but upbringing shows. Neat boy, very neat. Neat, thought Harry. Yes, neat is me. You have locked cabinets in your head. Many. I haven't seen such in a long time. Did you lock them yourself? I don't remember, thought Harry. They seem to have just stood there. Well, well, where to put you? Slytherin is waiting. Malfoy belongs in Slytherin. Malfoy and the like. I'm not Malfoy, thought Harry. The hat was silent. And who are you? Harry didn't answer. Not because he didn't know, but because he suddenly realized there was no answer. None at all. Neither good nor bad. I see, said the hat. They're not Slytherin. Slytherin needs those who know what they want. For now, Ravenclaw. You'll sort it out there. Ravenclaw! The hat shouted across the hall. At the Slytherin table, Draco slowly put down his fork. At the Ravenclaw table, someone clapped, not very confidently. Harry sat between two unfamiliar upperclassmen. One shook his hand, the other just nodded. Good, thought Harry. It seems everyone here knows how to do that too. 3 tables away, Hermione stood up, caught his eye, and gave a thumbs up. Harry responded in kind. He didn't look at the Slytherin table. 7 years at Hogwarts flew by in different ways. The first 2, calmly as it can be at Hogwarts. Harry attended classes, ate in the Great Hall, slept in the Tower, returned to the estate during the holidays. At the estate he was received just as before, without warmth or cold, like a postman. Here's your dinner, here's your room, see you tomorrow. Draco's letters home in the first year were long and resentful. By the end of the second year, they stopped being about Harry altogether. The third year was worse. Sirius Black escaped from Azkaban. The newspapers buzzed. Harry read them with particular attention because Sirius Black, according to the official version, was his godfather and had tried to kill him 10 years ago. According to the unofficial version, which Harry pieced together from fragments of library letters from Narcissa and hints from Lucius, it was more complicated and unpleasant and unclear. He didn't try to sort it out. He had already developed a habit. If something takes a long time to figure out, it can be postponed forever. In the 4th year, there was the Triwizard Tournament. Harry wasn't chosen as a champion. Cedric Diggory was chosen, a nice guy from Hufflepuff who once helped Harry carry a stack of books to the tower and whom Harry remembered precisely for that, for the stack. Harry watched the tournament from the stands. From the stands, everything looked beautiful and not very clear. In the third task, only Cedric emerged from the maze, without the second champion, without the port key, without the prize. He sat on the grass and cried, and this was the first time Harry remembered seeing a 17-year-old boy publicly crying. Then Cedric told what he saw in the center of the maze, and that night all of Hogwarts was awake. Voldemort's return was neither dramatic nor sudden. It was rather awkward. For 6 months, nothing happened. The Ministry denied it. Dumbledore spoke evasively in public interviews. The newspapers split, half with the Ministry, half with Dumbledore, and both halves accused each other of hysteria with equal fervor. Harry lived in the Ravenclaw Tower, attended classes, prepared for his owls. Hermione periodically caught him in the library and tried to summarize the political news, which in her mind formed a coherent picture, while in his, a mess of names and factions. Ron sat nearby, chewing on a quill. At home, during the summer holidays after the 5th year, Harry felt for the first time that something was changing in the estate. Not in the rooms, not in the routine, in the air. Lucius began to leave for whole nights. Narcissa stopped coming down for breakfast. Draco became nervous and thin, twitchy, stopped looking Harry in the face, not out of enmity, but as if he was ashamed. At dinner, sometimes there were such pauses that Harry could hear the clock ticking in the living room 2 rooms away. Once, in August, very late at night, Harry went down to the kitchen for water and heard voices in the living room. The door was ajar. Harry froze on the stairs. I'm not sure we're ready.
And who is asking you?
You are asking. You are already asking. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here with me, but over there, with him. Silence.
Sissy.
Don't. I know what you decided. I just want you to say it out loud, in front of me, looking me in the eyes, that you care about me and Draco less than your duty to a man who once already made us nobody, and who will do it again as soon as we cease to be useful.
Sissy, you speak like...
I speak as a mother, and as a wife, and as a person who once brought a stranger's child into this house because you said it was right, and who fed him for 15 years.
Not 15.
10. What difference does it make? Fed him. And you, by the way, fed him too.
I don't understand what you're getting at.
To the fact that if he crosses the threshold of this house and demands the boy, and you give him to him, I will leave, and I will take Draco with me.
Draco is no longer yours.
Draco is mine as long as I'm alive. Harry was standing on the stairs, and suddenly it seemed to him that the stairs beneath him tilted. He sat down on a step, sat quietly. Me, he thought. They are talking about me. Narcissa said, the boy, and Narcissa was talking about me. It was, Harry tried to find the word and did not immediately find it. It was unpleasant, not joyful, no. More like the feeling when someone calls you by name whom you did not expect it from. As if someone owes you a lot of money, forgot, and suddenly returned it. And you have already gotten used to living without that money and do not know where to put it now. He stood up, quietly went back to his room. He did not take any water. In the morning, Narcissa was like always at breakfast, polite, even. She poured Harry tea first. For the first time in 10 years, Harry looked her in the face a little longer than necessary. She caught his gaze, did not smile, but did not look away either. That was all she said to him that morning. With her eyes. Voldemort came to the estate in the first week of September, before the start of Harry's 6th year. Harry was home. The train to Hogwarts was leaving in 4 days. He heard footsteps in the living room and realized by the sound that there were more footsteps than there should be in this house. There were 10, 15, heavy boots, Lucius's voice, quiet, almost obsequious. Another voice, thin and colorless, inhuman. And another one, a female, high, with a tearfulness that Harry had never heard before. Bellatrix, he realized immediately, although he had only seen her before in photographs in newspapers. Narcissa's sister, the one. Footsteps on the stairs, not 1, 2. A knock on the door, short, formal. Narcissa's voice, Harry, please come down to the living room, please. She said, please. In 10 years, not once. Harry stood up, adjusted his shirt, opened the door. Narcissa was standing alone, without accompaniment. Her face was dry and composed, like someone who had just made a decision and was not going to discuss it. Come with me. And, whatever happens in the living room, be silent. I will do the talking.
Okay.
Harry,
Yes?
if I say run, run, not down, up, to the window in the eastern tower, the elf will be waiting with the port key, remember. Harry remembered. They went down. In the living room stood, he counted on the go, 12 people. Lucius by the fireplace, pale with his hands clasped behind his back. Draco in the corner, on a chair, head down. By the sofa, Bellatrix in black with her hair down, hanging over her face in wet strands. On the very sofa sat Voldemort. Harry saw him alive for the first time. In photographs from old newspapers. Yes, he had seen. In nightmares and in fragments of other people's stories. Yes. Now, in person, no. He sat very normally. He had thrown one leg over the other, like any person on any sofa. Only the face was not any. The face was such that Harry immediately understood. It was impossible to look at it for long, not because it was scary, but because the eyes began to water, like from too bright light.
Come closer.
Harry took a step forward. Narcissa took a step with him. 3 meters were left between Harry and the sofa.
Closer.
Enough. A silence fell in the room, like the silence that occurs in a library after someone has dropped a book. Bellatrix slowly turned her head.
Sissy.
Enough. Voldemort looked at her. For a long time. Harry stood next to her and understood that he should not look at Voldemort, but at Narcissa, because Narcissa right now, at this second, was doing something. For the first time in his memory, she was doing something truly with all of herself, not politely and not evenly, but to the end.
Lady Malfoy, this boy is not yours.
This boy is in my house.
Your house is my house.
Then you are my guest, and I ask you not to touch my wards. Bellatrix laughed briefly, as if she had coughed. Voldemort did not laugh. He raised his wand, lazily, without a swing, like one raises a cup. Narcissa also raised her wand, did not aim, did not threaten, just held it at chest level, handle towards him, tip towards the floor. A gesture that contained everything, both a warning and a request, and a promise that if anything happened, she would shoot first and did not care how it would end.
Lucius, explain to your wife.
Lucius was silent.
Lucius.
Sissy, Sissy, step back.
No,
Sissy, you are going to ruin everything.
I am not ruining anything. I am standing.
Sissy,
Lucius, choose, right now. Who of us you call by name twice in a row? Lucius was silent for a long time. Harry heard how his own temples were pounding, stupidly and slowly, like water dripping from a poorly closed faucet.
Draco, come here.
Draco raised his head. He looked at his father, then at his mother, then, for a second, at Harry. In that glance, Harry would later attribute various meanings over the years. Sometimes he felt that Draco was wavering in that moment. Sometimes that he was not wavering, that he had long made up his mind and just for a second felt sorry not for Harry, but for himself, as a small, very distant boy who once shared breakfasts with this strange 10-year-old. Sometimes it seemed that Draco was not thinking about anything at all in that moment, but was simply looking at the face of the person with whom he had lived half his life, trying to remember. Draco stood up. He walked over to his father. He stood beside him, on the left, as befits an heir. He did not look at his mother or Harry again. Narcissa did not flinch. Only the wand in her hand lifted slightly. "Run, Harry, run!" Harry ran. He ran up the stairs, through 2 flights, through the corridor, through the small gallery to the eastern tower. Behind him, he heard Bellatrix scream, short, inarticulate, and the crack of a spell, and the sound of breaking glass, and Voldemort's voice, which was saying something calm and quiet. And from that calm, quiet voice, Harry ran faster than from the scream. In the eastern tower, an elf was waiting for him, the same one who had first shown him the room 10 years ago. The elf was grey with fear. He held a silver keychain in his hands, the very one Harry had once dropped on the porch. "Take it, Master Harry. Take it quickly." The mistress said, "To a safe place." The mistress said, "To Hogsmeade." The mistress said, "To Professor Dumbledore, write to him, not to anyone else." Harry took the keychain.
"And her?
The elf did not answer.
And her?"
The mistress said to run, Master Harry. Harry looked out the window. Below, in the garden, by the white roses, there was no one. From somewhere below, from the house, another crack sounded. Duller, heavier, then silence. The keychain jerked. It was raining in Hogsmeade. Harry stood in the middle of the square, wet, without a cloak, with the silver keychain in his fist. There were few passers-by. No one paid him any attention. He stood for a minute, not understanding where to go. Then he understood. Dumbledore opened the door himself. He was wearing a robe, blue, patched at the elbow. He was not surprised to see Harry. He just looked at him for a long time, with the expression people have when looking at a bill that has arrived after 10 years with a large debt.
Come in, boy. Tea?
Harry entered. He sat in a chair by the fireplace. He placed the keychain on the table. He looked at it for a long time, then at the fire, then at Dumbledore.
"She stayed, Narcissa, she stayed with him."
I know.
"How do you know?"
I have known her for a long time. I expected something like this. Not exactly this, but something like it.
Is she alive?"
Dumbledore set down his cup. He paused.
I don't know, Harry. We will find out soon. By morning, I think.
Harry nodded. He lifted the cup. His hands were dry. Not a single drop spilled. 10 years of training.
"Tell me one thing, just one.
Ask.
Why did you give me to them then? You had a choice?"
Dumbledore looked into the fire for a long time. Then he said,
I had a choice between bad options. The Malfoys were not the worst. I knew that Narcissa would, in the worst case, stand between you and them. I did not know. I did not know for sure. But I hoped. That was all my hope, Harry. One woman who might do what no one expected of her at the right moment.
You bet my whole life on that.
Yes.
And what if she hadn't?
Then we would not be having this conversation now.
Harry finished his tea. He set down the cup. He looked out the window. The rain had not stopped.
You know, she did stand up. She really did.
I know.
And Draco left.
And I know that too.
And I'm not even sure whose side I'm on now. I have people there in that house. Not friends, not family, but people. One of whom just maybe died for me. And another just rejected me. And the third, the father of the one who rejected, he is there too. And I don't even know who I feel sorrier for right now. Is that normal at all?
Dumbledore looked at him, for the first time that evening directly, without trickery.
That is the most normal thing I have heard from you in all the time I have known you. Boy, finish your tea and go to bed. In the morning, we will have to think about what to do next.
Harry finished his tea. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time. In the morning, they had to think for a long time.